At some point, we have all compared ourselves to gifted people in this world and have had this painful thought. The distribution of talent in this world feels ruthlessly unequal. But what if our conceptual understanding of talent is one-dimensional and even distorted? I've wrestled with this thought for a long time before I discovered the talented learner genius Egotype framework from the Blue Lock Manga chapter 281. It brought me clarity on the true nature of talent and aptitude. And in this video, I'll unpack my personal story and relationship with talent, the differences between a talented learner and genius Egotype, the strengths and weaknesses of each, and how to level up your Egotype. I'll also provide a link to an ego archetype assessment gem in Gemini in the description below. This personal quiz will reveal your Egotype percentage breakdown, detail your unique talent, strengths, and weaknesses, and offer personalized tips to help you elevate your talent. My name is Joel. I have been a 2-decade-long soccer player. I'm a current product marketing manager at Google and aspiring YouTuber. Here's a glimpse into my personal struggles on the concept of talent. Growing up, there was a wide chasm between me and the people closest to me. I was surrounded by people where things came naturally to them. In elementary school, my brothers were academic superstars. They were straight A, principal-less students, while I was struggling to get consistent Bs, a huge no-no in an Asian household. In high school, my best friends were athletically gifted in almost every sport imaginable. Who knew ring out was a thing? While I was struggling to keep pace in one, soccer. So that scene with Sagi crying and shouting on his bike was deeply relatable. In my 20s, my partners were natural leaders and social butterflies. They just radiated charm and charisma, while I felt socially awkward at so many settings, from parties to weddings and beyond. More recently, my coworkers have been type A with boundless energy, ambition, and intelligence, while I still feel like I'm shaking off the imposter syndrome, feeling like I'm always on the verge of being found out. All around me, people have outpaced me with instinctive abilities. No matter how hard I worked, I felt like I could only brush up on my talents, but I couldn't compete in the world of geniuses. I felt pathetically ordinary in comparison with my superhuman counterparts. Life didn't feel fair. But then I asked myself, what if I was approaching talent with the wrong mindset? What if I had every ability within to compete, but just within my own realm, with my own methodology and my own distinctive style? So after years of compounded effort and intentional learning, I started feeling on par in some of these domains. Academically and professionally, I found topics I was passionate about that landed me my dream job at a tech giant as a growth marketer. Athletically, I'm in my 30s now, and I've been trying endeavors that I never thought I'd dive into the realm of, like acrobatics, martial arts, and dance. And within soccer, my original love, I have elevated myself in ways that I never thought I could, using my mind more than my physicality. Socially, I feel much more grounded in my temperament. I've unpacked my own version of charisma and connection that doesn't feel forced. While I didn't consciously recognize it then, subconsciously, I lean into a handful of principles from the talented learner genius Egotype framework that lifted me out of the senseless comparison game. Instead of being a fish that beat myself up for not being able to climb a tree, I gave myself credit for lanes I could swim in. Like Asagi, I no longer self-loathed over my limitations, not being as fast as Chigiri, not being as strong as Baro, not being as creative as Bachara, but instead, I leaned into my Egotype and found my version of metavision. So what is the difference between a genius and a talented learner? Geniuses possess exceptional insight or innate ability. They bring imagination and innovation to their field. What sets geniuses apart are twofold. They have an outstanding talent and they bring a novel approach. Talented learners have an aptitude for a given field. They excel at learning efficiently in a domain and showing signs of accelerated growth through tools like reverse engineering and emulating, and a methodical, deliberate, and logical approach to learning. Geniuses are often autotelic. According to Blue Lock and the author of Flow, autotelics are internally driven, pursuing values and meaning in relation to oneself. In plain English, this means doing the thing is the reward. They enjoy activities for its own sake. This tendency to look inward produces inspiration and unthinkable inventions. Geniuses seek pleasure in fulfilling a narrative the way they want. Doing things any other way would lead to unhappiness and an inability to enter flow state. When a genius is uninfluenced and untainted by the world around them, their creativity shines. Talented learners, in contrast, are often exotelic. They are externally motivated, performing activities in relation to the world's values and meanings. They derive challenges and enjoyment from the standards of the world and what the world thinks of their actions. What they do has to have value outside of themselves. In turn, talented learners face the world with logic and reasoning. Geniuses center on the journey. Talented learners revolve around the end goal. So what are the strengths and weaknesses of each Egotype? Let's start with geniuses. Geniuses excel in innovation. They have groundbreaking creativity and original thinking. They produce unique expressions that can be revolutionary when the circumstances are right. They relentlessly push the boundaries of their field, setting the new world standard for achievement. Think of Nagi's 5-step revolver shot. Self-direction, they live entirely on their own accord, driven by instinctive impulses, independent of external desires or pressures. They create their own singularity points to mold consensus, not abide by it. Think of Barrow and his unyielding king philosophy. Intensity, they generate spurts of inspiration, resulting in deep work and an easier time entering flow. Think of Rin's destroyer mode. Their weaknesses, solipsism. They have a tendency to be wrapped up in their own realm. Their output may not translate to a need in the world. Contextual limitations. For genius to be fully appreciated by the world, they require a confluence of factors to align, like timing, environment, network, resources, cultural context, socioeconomic status, etc., etc. Stagnation. It's easy for genius to be so comfortable with the natural journey and with organic growth, they neglect deliberate learning and fall short of their potential. Inconsistent. They're prone to volatility, super high highs, super low lows. They have moments of inspiration, but often experience success without understanding the mechanisms for that success. Let's move on to talented learners. Talented learners excel in cognitive processing. They experience accelerated growth powered by high adaptability and puzzle pieces, of course. Their competitive edge is quickly intaking information using intentional learning to deconstruct complex skills. Think of Rail's dexterity and his chameleon copy as a prime example. Methodical execution. Talented learners operate using systematic decision-making and analytical frameworks that consider history, context, and forecasts. They execute skills with consistency and precision. Think of Karasu's assassin style of play. He only fights battles he can win and uses his wit to maintain possession. Intrapersonal skills. They possess strong introspective skills and high self-awareness. It's the ability to turn inward for self-study. They create veridical self-models and self-regulation to allow them to operate efficiently. Usagi's inner dialogue is the poster child here. He not only analyzes his plays, but objectively gut checks his motivations and mentality. Weaknesses. They have vain motivations. They're prone to minimizing the journey and focusing on the external benefits, and it results in really fragile motivations. Not present. They have a harder time entering flow unless they let go of their fixations and focus on the present challenge at hand. Unoriginal. They are far less creative and innovative than their genius counterparts. In my humble opinion, I don't think these categorizations are binary, meaning that you have to slap yourself with one label or another. Instead, in any given field, you can rank yourself on the genius talented learner ladders. Envision your genius and talented learner tendencies on a graph. The x-axis is how quickly you learn, and the y-axis is how frequently you innovate. Pick a domain and rank yourself out of 10 on both axes. Multiply the two, and you have a score out of 100 representing your potential in that field. For example, if you rate yourself a 5 on the creativity scale and a 7 on the accelerated learning scale, then you have a total score of 35 for this domain. The higher the score, the more likely you found a domain that you can thrive in. Maybe you're a natural singer, but you have no interest in studying music theory. You're going to be a superstar at karaoke, but you probably have a hard time passing amateur status if you ever want to become a professional singer. And that's where your genius tendencies dominate. Maybe the learn to code era has prompted you to become a front-end dev. You've studied extremely hard in school, learned Python, C++, and landed a comfy tech job with good salary. You like your perks, but you don't have a whole lot of passion behind your work. That means your talented learner tendencies took the wheel. Or maybe, like Usagi, you have genius level spatial awareness and a winning adaptability mindset, in which case you might have the chops to become the best striker in the world. If you look exclusively inward, your genius tendencies have taken a hold, but you might become self-absorbed in your craft. If you look exclusively outward, your talented learner tendencies have taken a hold, but you might lose fulfillment and burnout. You'll have to find and determine that right balance for yourself. So how do we elevate our tendencies? To level up your genius tendencies, rub shoulders with and find inspiration from other geniuses that are ahead in your field. Challenge yourself by finding the next high-stakes environment. Turn your natural talent into a reproducible skill and bring consistency to your game. How do you level up your talented learner tendencies? Write down a list of foundational skills required to thrive in your domain. Rank yourself in each and make deliberate learning a plan. Find a mentor or coach that you want to emulate. Create growth-oriented goals, or in other words, focus on leveling up your character and competence before trying to achieve a certain status. In the end, what matters most isn't your Egotype bent, but how you use your talents on the field. Take a quick 5-minute Egotype assessment in the description below to find your genius and talented learner percentage breakdown and gain personal tips to level up your talent. Let me know in the comments below what you learned about your Egotype from the assessment, and I'll see you in the next video, Egoists.